Hi there, it's Emma from Emma's Cards and Paper Crafts. Today I've got the Welcoming Garden kit to share with you, so let's see what's inside. It's taken a little bit of effort to get into it today. The cellophane seems to be a lot thicker than it previously has been, so let's see how we can get in there anytime soon. So let's see what's inside then. So we've got the stamp set here. We've got a Stampin' Spot in crumb cake. And then we've got our cellophaned packet of goodies. So let's get this open and see what's inside. Again, the cellophane is so much thicker this time. I don't know whether it's a different manufacturing place that's doing it this time, but it's so much harder to get into. So we've got the tear and tape and a stamp block. So with every stamping kit, you always get one of the thin stamp blocks, just so that you actually have everything in your kit that you actually need. So you can pack it up and take it on the go. You've got your stamping dimensionals. We've got 3 pieces of white card here. I think it's 9 envelopes, so it'll be 3 designs, I think, of 3 different cards. So we've got this one here, which is sort of like a garden card, which opens out so you can write behind that flap, or you could write on the back. And then you've got your gate, which closes over the front as well. And then we've actually got 6 of these bases. Even though they're all the same, they make 2 different cards, so you still get 3 cards of each of the 2 different designs. And then we've got stampy bits that are to be stamped on. So we've got 2 of those sheets. And then we've got 3 of these ones. And then 3 of these ones here also as well. And then we've got our thick card. Never throw this away, it's always handy. We'll be using this for some more projects in future. And then you've got your piece of paper that you can put in with your stamp set. So you can actually put them in the stamp boxes. So you can buy blank stamp boxes and you can put them in there. And then we've got our instructions with 3 different cards here, showing the designs on the front. So that's the instructions for card number 1. Card number 2 and card number 3. And then you've got this sheet here which shows you what you're going to need for each of your different designs, so you can get all your pieces ready. And we're going to start with card number 1. So I'm just finding the pieces here that we need for card number 1 so we can collate them, so we've got them all nice together, ready to go, so it's just easier to work from. So we're going to take the pink flowers out for this card. And then we're just going to get the little birdhouse as well. And then just find the little piece for us to stamp on for our greeting. So I do already have the crumb cake ink, so I'm just going to get my big stamping pad. I tend to keep my little stamping spots for when we go on holiday or for the kids for crafting, so I'm going to get that one out and put my little stamping spot to one side to save for another day. So this card here has thanks written on it, so we're just going to stamp that one quickly. I'm going to mount that on my block. There we go, that's that done. I'll put the ink away before I get inky fingers, because I know I will. I'm just going to get the card base now. So this is what we've got, and then you can carefully fold your gate across over the front. So this is a double gate fold card, I suppose you'd call it. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on all of our pieces and then pop them on the front. So the instructions do actually give you guides as to where to put the pieces, which is quite handy because there's a lot of pink flowers there and it's not always quite obvious which ones are there to go on top of. Obviously, you don't have to follow the instructions to a T. You can do it however you want to do it. But for these examples, we're just going to follow the examples in the instructions to the T. So there we go, that's most of those stuck down now. Just the last one to go now, which is there. And then after this we can add our, what's it called? Our sentiment to the front of the card. So I'm just going to stick this one down. This one goes right about here. So there we go, just make sure that they're not in the way of opening my card as well. So there we go, they sit nice and flat. And then our sentiment goes on the front of the gate. So I'm going to put the dimensionals directly on the gate so that I know they're evenly spaced and we're not going to be able to see them from behind, just to make it easier. And then we're going to line up our sentiment where we'd like it, nice and straight. And there we have it, there's our first card. Oops, a little bit too close to the camera, sorry about that. So that's card number 1 finished. Now we're going to go on to card number 2 of this kit of 3, which I quite like this one. I love how the leaves weave in and out of the gate kind of bit here. So let's just find all of these pieces for the next card. We're also just going to mount up our stamp that we need. This one is a just a note sentiment that goes on the front. And we've also got a little bit of a background stamp here, a wood grain texture, and there's our sentiment all blocked up, ready to go. And now let's just gather all of our bits and bobs to assemble this card. So we're going to pop out all of our pieces here. So super careful with these because they are quite thin and flimsy, but they're usually only hung on by like the tiniest little tab that hangs them on, but still I don't want to break them. And then I've just got to look for my orange flowers. There we go, there's the orange flowers. So we can use all of the orange flowers. So it's 3 individual ones, and then we've got 3 clusters as well, I think it is. Yep, 3 clusters. And then we also want to carefully, like super duper carefully, pop out our leaves, or vines, whatever you want to call them. And there we go, finally got there eventually. They're just so delicate. I didn't want to bend them or rip them or anything like that while getting it out. And then we've got our card base. And then we need to find our little white piece of cardstock, which is hidden under the bottom of the pile. And then we're just going to layer up our pieces just to see how they're going to look on the card base, which I think they're quite pretty. Just make sure we don't lose any of those flowers. I'm always losing pieces of things. And again, we're just going to get our sentiment piece here for stamping on. Just carefully pop that out. So let's just find the ink again and get this stamp mounted up, and then we can stamp this one. So these are my stamps. I've got the wood grain effect one here for the background. I'm just going to stamp across the top, and then just to give it a little bit of texture, flip it round and down the bottom. And then let's just quickly do the sentiment. And I just put my finger in the ink again. And that's not too straight either, but it will do. So we're going to put some tearing tape on the back of the piece of cardstock. And I always manage to cut my tearing tape too long, so we're just going to use a little bit in the middle. And guess what, we did it again. We will learn one day. And then we're going to peel those off carefully. Sometimes they're a bit fiddly. And the last one. Now we can attach this to the front of our card base, which is just here. So just try and line that up reasonably straight. There we go. Pretty straight, not perfect, but it'll do. It's going to be hidden behind the flowers anyway, the vines anyway, so you won't even really notice a difference. So we're going to also put our dimensionals around the back, and we're going to put tear and tape on our flowers to attach them. So let's just get our vines and add the tear and tape to those. I'm not going to make it too big this time. Lesson learned. Third time lucky. There we go, just the right size. And then we're going to attach our gate over the front of that. And then if we look at the instructions, it shows you just where your vines should tuck through, so it makes it look like they're growing through your gate and around your gate. So we're just going to tuck those where they're supposed to be, like so. Makes it look pretty. And then we're going to add our dimensionals on the back. Just find my dimensionals again. So always go and walk about. But I have so many different sheets on my desk that there's always one nearby somewhere. just going to peel our dimensionals so that we can get this stuck on our card base. Just a couple more to go. That one. One more. There we go. Just try and tuck my instructions out the way again. And then typical, bent one of the vines. It's not quite straight, so let's just readjust that a minute. I think that's a little bit better, not quite, but a little bit better. And then next up is our orange flower, so it just shows you here where they've got to go. So I'm going to put a dimensional per flower because I like to have them plenty of support just in case the card is being sent through the post, which occasionally I do, not very often, but occasionally. So we're going to use our mini dimensionals. So all of the dimensionals in this kit are the mini dimensionals because there's such a small area that we've got to fit them all in. Even the minis are still slightly big in some places, and you can still see them a smidge, but not too badly. And we're just going to peel the backings off all of these, put them in a nice neat pile ready to go in the bin. Don't want to be making a mess. The desk is already messy enough as it is, which I really need to have a sort out and get rid of. Lots and lots of things that have been hanging around for a long time. I've got lots of finished projects just sat around me because I haven't used them or given them away yet or whatever. Or they've been given to me and I've left them there for inspiration, but sometimes I need to declutter a little bit so I can have my space back, so I can craft a little bit easier. So get in there with these. That one goes down the bottom here. Got to remember to leave some space in the middle though for our sentiment to go, but it also, we want it to look like the sentiment's buried among the flowers sort of thing. So we're going to put them everywhere. And then we're going to put some dimensionals on our sentiment, just a couple on here, we don't need too many. And peel those. There we go. And then we're going to tuck this right across the middle just here, like so. Make sure it's straight though. There we go. So that's card number 2 done. So I love how the little vines are popping over the top. And then next up we're going to find the pieces we need for card number 3. So we're going to need this big piece here with the flowers, and then I've dropped one of my gate posts which I also need. Let's find that quickly. There's my gate, so we're going to need one of each of these. There we go, so pop those on my pile. And then we need the hello. So we've got one gate post here, and let's find the other one. It's got to be in my pile somewhere. But you never know with me, I'm always losing things. Nope, where has it gone? There it is. So it's that. So we don't need these bits here, so we're going to pop those off to one side. So we're just going to look for our sentiment piece here, which is this bottom one down here. These kits are actually really good. They've given you 5 of each of your different sentiment pieces, just in case you stamp wrong, but you only need 3 of each, which is nice. But I'm not all that fussy. I'll save them for another project. So there's those pieces. And now I've just realised that I was supposed to have stamped my gate pieces before popping them out. So we're going to swap these out and just pop the other ones to one side, and we'll stamp on these ones here because the stamp fits perfectly with the way they are laid out on the piece of cardstock they come in. So I'm just going to mount up my last 2 stamps. So all of the stamps in this kit you do use for each of your cards. There are a few kits that I've had a couple of extra stamps in. So this way your stamp just fits perfectly over the top of that bit. Just line it up properly. It goes in the middle rather than, there we go, like that. So that your gate posts sit in nicely, and then that one fits on that side nicely too. So we're going to mount that one up and stamp those. And ink all over my hands again. I'm just trying to find the best angle to stamp this at. And there we go. And that was rather wonky. I've missed the bottom completely, and the gate posts are only just at the top. I say gate posts, they're actually picket fence, isn't it? So this one I'm stamping just a little bit lower down, and that's a little bit straighter, but not all that straighter, but it'll do. It's good enough. My fence isn't going to fall down. So let's pop these out. There goes one. See how close that was stamped to the top? It was barely on the top. Nearly didn't make it on there. And then the other one, there we go. And see how close, far away from the top that one is. And then we're going to carefully pop out our flowers. Again, this one's a really delicate one. It's got lots of spindly bits that are hanging off. So I'm going to be super duper careful with this one. It's just like really big, but yet fragile and delicate at the same time. And then we've got a few little accent flowers to go on the top. I'm going to pop those out. So I think there's 5 little flowers there to go on the top. Don't ask me what the flowers are, because I don't know. They're pretty flowers anyway, so we'll go with pretty flowers. So we still need to stamp our sentiment, so let's just get a block to stamp the sentiment, because I forgot that bit. So that's my last stamp off my plastic sheet, so I'm just going to put those to one side carefully so I don't lose them, so I can put my stamps back on after I'm done. And then I couldn't get this one to go straight, so just if you put it face down on your work surface and then put your stamp onto it and pick it up, it makes it so much straighter. And then we're just going to stamp the sentiment here. See how it's the perfect size for our sentiment. There we go. And ink away, otherwise I'll be getting inky fingers again. Always got inky fingers. And then we're going to get our card base. And then we're going to put some tearing tape along the bottom of our flowers. Just like so. There we go. Managed to not make it too big this time. And carefully peel that off. You need to line it up perfectly with the edge of your card because it's the exact same size as your card. I just noticed there's a tiny little ridge. The card's not quite folded straight, so I'm just going to flip it over so that you can't see that white line. And then we're going to stick it this side, and then there we go. Just looking at how our fence panels attach here. So we're going to get some tear and tape for the fence panels and some dimensionals for all of our flowers and bits and bobs. And then we can attach them there. So let's flip this over. I'm going to fold this one and carefully take out the middle piece, like so. Nice and easy. And then we're going to put our tear and tape on here. And I made it too big again. Of course I did. It came off of its backing and stuck to my finger instead of sticking to the cardstock, so just a tiny little bit there. And then let's do the other piece. Just like so. I'm going to peel those all off. When I can get hold of it. So if you look just down here, it's got a lighter piece. It's like the cutout of the fence, and you can perfectly line up your fence with it so you know where it's got to go. So that's that piece. It's not quite straight there. Let's re-straighten that a little bit. Carefully peel it off and re-straighten it. There we go, that's a little bit better. There. Now we're going to do the other side exactly the same. If I can get the backing off. And then again, you've got the like little shaded area where your cutout needs to go. So I'm going to stick that just there perfectly like that. Open up our gate and we're going to pop our sentiment on dimensionals inside. There's all our flowers. Don't lose the flowers. So it's just showing us where the flowers go and where all the sentiment and everything goes. Just checking on the placement. And get some dimensionals again. There we go, we'll pop that in there like that. Then we'll close our gate. And then I need to find my little hello piece to go on the front of the gate, which is right about there. I'm going to stick a couple of dimensionals on that too and pop that on the front of our gate. Just like so. There we go. And then we're going to pop dimensionals on the back of each of our little flowers so that we can add them on next. And they keep sticking to my fingers. So that one goes just about there. And then that one goes just there to make it look like it's coming over the top of the fence. Not quite straight there. There we go, that's better. And then we've got 3 of our little bits of our, I want to say they're hydrangeas, but I could be wrong on that. I'm not very good with my flowers, but I think they're hydrangeas. And then just make sure we get these the right way up because you want the lighter portion at the top because of the way the sun's on them. And then, and I've gone and lost one of my posts again. Let's see where that's gone. I'm sure it's just in my pile. Nope, not in the pile. The amount of times I've lost these posts already, just in this video, I'm sure it's already gone, long gone. checking every single little piece of paper to see if it's got tucked in with something. But don't know where the other one's gone. So frustrating. Just check that it hasn't been caught up on any of these bits and bobs here. Go through that entire pile again, one by one. I bet it's probably fallen down the side of my desk, so that'll be tomorrow's job to dig out everything down the side of my desk, because there's a tiny little gap and everything always falls down there. I'm pretty sure there's at least a couple of reels of tear and tape down there, because they roll off my desk and end up down there. Just one last little check for it. No, definitely gone. Think we're going to have to accept it's gone. And I'm just going to have to get another one off one of the other sheets instead. So let's just find another one of the sheets and we'll decide, we'll figure out what to do later on when I go to make the other cards. So we're just going to borrow one from this card instead. And then we're going to stick these on. So we're going to pop some dimensionals on these. Lost my dimensionals again. Now I'm just going to pop that one on there, just like that. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. And then the next one. There we go. Let's just clear up this space, get rid of all these dimensional backs that I've dropped everywhere instead of actually putting my rubbish pile. And tidy things away. And we get all 3 cards back, just so I can show you all 3 of them. There we go. So that is all 3 cards of the Welcoming Garden card kit that is now live online as an online exclusive. I think these are really cute little cards. I hope you've enjoyed watching my video today, and I hope you will come back again soon. Thank you and bye bye.